Labour MP Lucy Powell and Shadow Culture Secretary. Sorry, we've had some tech issues there, Lucy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning, Julia.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So much to talk about. I know you want to talk about the online safety bill, and we will get to that, I promise you. I did want to ask you, though, the big story of the day when it comes to Suella Braverman, front page of most of the papers. Lots of criticism, we're told, of her rhetoric, talking about invasions and migrant problem out of control with the Channel migrants. What's wrong with her rhetoric?
Well, I think what I would agree with her on is that the immigration system is broken. And it's been broken under the watch of her government, a government she sat in for many years. And the Conservatives have now been in charge of our immigration system for 12 years. And over that time, we've seen a huge increase in the number of migrants coming across the Channel in small boats. Only a few years ago, it was less than a few hundred a year. And now we're looking at probably going to be more than 40,000 coming across in small boats this year alone. And the decision-making process for those migrants has slowed down so much that this is what's now causing a lot of the backlogs and the need for expensive hotels and so on. So it's her government's responsibility and her government that should be accountable for the broken immigration system. On some of the rest of her language, I do think it is irresponsible to talk in such inflammatory way, especially when you're the Home Secretary and you're responsible.
What's irresponsible and inflammatory?
I think the use of words like invasion, especially coming the day after we saw somebody firebombing a migrant centre in Kent and then killing themselves. So this will put our security services and our police on high alert now because they will feel that there is a heightened security risk for these sorts of migrant centres. And as the Home Secretary, who is responsible for those security services and those police services, I do think that is a deeply irresponsible bit of language to have used.
Yeah, I think lots of people think it's just irresponsible that we've got 40,000 people arriving on our shores. We don't know who they are, what their intention is, where they're from, and we can't get rid of them. I as a taxpayer member of the public, I think that's irresponsible.
We would all agree with that, Julia.
Your party wants to keep them here.
Absolutely, that's not the case at all. We want to see the issue of the small boats coming over from across the Channel. We want to see that being dealt with.
How do you want to deal with it?
It's not been dealt with.
How do you want to deal with it?
It's got worse and worse and worse under this government. So they are responsible for that. The Labour
no, hold on a minute. No, Lucy Powell, sorry. Look, the government, once people are here, the government's got a responsibility to deal with them. What has the government done that has contributed to 40,000 people coming by boat this year? What have they done?
Well, under their watch, it's happened.
Yes, but why are they responsible for that?
Because lots of reasons. We've seen time and time again. Sorry, I'm just going to get an umbrella. It's started to rain out of everything else. We've seen time and time again, this government talk big on rhetoric when it comes to small boats and then failing to take the action that's necessary.
What action would Labour take?
So they're not taking the action with the French they could have done. They're not taking the action on dealing with the criminal gangs who are.
What do you want them to? What would you do differently? That's what I can't work out. Yeah. Well, we're going to ask the French nicely. Would you mind taking all these people back and stop people getting on boats? The French aren't going to do that.
Well, there are ways to work with the French, but of course this government have made those relations particularly bad. So
you think if Labour got into power overnight, Emmanuel Macron would stop people getting on those boats?
So there are issues there with the French which could be dealt with, which this government time and again have promised to do, and they haven't done. They could do a lot more to root out the criminal gangs, the way they advertise, the way they work, the way they recruit people, which we've been proposing in the House of Commons for months. They haven't done that. And most importantly, they need to process these decisions, because what we're seeing are people coming across in boats and their applications on average are not being dealt with for 18 months. So this is attractive to people. If you think that you can come over and you won't have your decision dealt with for 18 months, then this is encouraging people. There are many different things that can be done here that this government hasn't done.
Let me come to the issue. You're going to be giving a keynote address at the UK Internet Governance Forum today, and you're concerned about the huge cost of the delay to the online safety bill as it's reworded. What is this cost that you're concerned about?
Well, look, we've discussed this many times, Julia. The online safety bill has been promised for over 5 years. We were at the very final stages of it coming through the House of Commons before the summer, before it was pulled. It's not perfect, but we can't let perfection get in the way of the good. There are lots of reasons why we need the social media space regulated in the wake of the Molly Russell coroner's findings. We've now got an individual in Elon Musk owning a whole social media platform. We were hearing about far-right extremists yesterday as well. There are lots of reasons, and there are costs for this delay.
Well, hold on a minute. The one reason it's being delayed is they want to make sure that we don't see censorship of adult content. We want to protect children, but adults don't want to be censored. This awful phrase, legal but harmful content, which is basically encouraging social media firms to just basically censor anything anyone says or writes that someone somewhere might think that someone else might find offensive. That is censorship. You don't want censorship, surely. Surely we should see a rewriting of this bill.
Well, what this bill should have always been at its heart, and I think in essence could still be, especially if we give the regulator the proper powers to do it, is to not be policing individual bits of content. That's not what it should have been about. It should have been about the impact, the harmful the harmful impact that this content can have in the wrong hands and used in the wrong way.
All right, so but you'd agree. Just, I know you have to go, but you'd agree that phrase "legal but harmful" should be removed.
Well, I think what we need to focus on is the impact of the harm, and not necessarily the individual.
If it's legal, it should be allowed. I know. Listen, Lucy, I know you've got to go, and you're standing there in the rain talking to us, which I so appreciate. So I'm going to let you go to your next interview. Lucy Powell, their Labour MP Shadow Culture Secretary.